running because I want to run. It's not because of any other reason than that. I'm fortunately involved in a practice with the same group of people I've been with for 27 years, 28 years, and there's no reason I have to leave. I just want to do this. This to me is the next step up. So you got somebody who's dedicated. You have somebody that knows how to do it. Now, I'm sure I'm going to learn a lot. There's things you don't know until you walk a mile in somebody else's moccasins. But I think there are things that I'm pretty aware of, having been around the courthouse up here as well as other courthouses throughout the state, and have a pretty good idea of what the job entails. And I think they have somebody who isn't going to walk in absolutely green, and somebody who has a ton of experience and know-how. And in terms, I was asked today about writing opinions. I mean, I'm not planning on writing an opinion on every case in front of me, but there are times all you get is a postcard from the court saying you win, you lose. There ought to be a little more to it than that. And I've been involved in appellate cases, the Ohio Supreme Court, so I'm used to seeing some opinions. I have some idea of when it's important to let people know why you ruled the way you ruled. Since I've been in trial so many times, I have a pretty good sense of how things should move and keep things moving. There's a real problem with breaks and what's going on and trying to minimize those breaks. I think there's some waste of time. I think if scheduling was done more effectively, there are sort of parts of the day that, at least in this county, where if you could work, say, the 8:30 to 9:30 hour for a lot of the administrative procedures, get into the trial from 9:30 till, say, noon. Spend the lunch hour, again, using it for pre-trials, using it for conferences. I can miss a couple lunches. And then the same thing toward the end of the day. Things get quieter often after 3:30. You should be there till 4:30, so you got plenty of time to get things done. So I think some efficiencies that I can bring to the system that I'm aware of from having been in the day-to-day practice. There's a lot of wasted time that doesn't need to be wasted. Some of it you can't help. Some just, problems with witnesses, problems with the prosecutor's office. They've got people running all over the place. They have things to do also. So it's a balancing act. But I think those are things that I can help on the efficiencies, keep things moving along. If you had a lot of trial experience, you kind of know how a trial should run. You can rule on things more quickly. You can just kind of bring the issues to a head because you're used to what those issues have been time in, time out from trial to trial. Done trial work for almost all of the 28 years I've been in practice. I was very lucky. Within about a year or two of being in practice, I was thrown into the courtroom happily, what I wanted to do. And those trials have been everything from 1.5 day to 4-week trials. They've covered I've probably tried over 125 jury trials, and those are civil jury trials. I've also tried criminal jury trials as a prosecutor, not as nearly as many, obviously. But those cases have covered a real gamut of kinds of issues. I mean, everything from defending a personal injury case, a products liability case, employment issues, workers' compensation. I've had 2 very large bank fraud cases, over $30 million at issue. I've had, like I said, employment cases, contract disputes, real estate, and some zoning and planning and land use cases because I work with municipalities. So I've had a really broad spectrum of kinds of cases and had a chance to, again, be involved in trying a large number of those, and they're, again, all jury trials. But no, it's not common to have, again, you can run for judge after 6 years of being a lawyer. So you couldn't, I don't care how good you are, you couldn't possibly amass that kind of experience in those 6 years. Now being in 28th year of practice, I've had a great opportunity to do that. Lawyers and judges sometimes, I think, forget, because they have so many cases they're handling, that it's just another case. But for that person who's the litigant, that's the only case they have, and it's the most important case in the world to them. And I think all of us as lawyers, and if I become a judge or any of the judges, have to remember that. And remember that that's the most important thing this person has. They want to have their day in court. They deserve their day in court. They have a right to their day in court, and make sure that that opportunity happens and they get treated as fairly as they possibly can. I grew up in Berea. I was one of 3 sons, youngest of 3 sons. My father died when I was 2.5, and my mother raised us without having gotten remarried, and somehow was able to do it off of the little income she had. She was a registered nurse and went back to work when I think I was 8 years old, so through the schools. Went through the Berea School District, graduated from Berea High School, was fortunate to go to Denison University on a full ride based on scholarship and need, worked some jobs while I was in college, worked in high school, and then when I got out of high school, I taught high school English, drama, and speech, 2 years in the Berea District and 2 years in Strongsville, and went on to law school at night at Cleveland State while I was teaching the last couple of years. So that gets us pretty close to 25. very fortunate to end up with a law clerk position in the same firm I'm in now. And in 1979, worked that entire year and went to law school. And what I did was, normally in law school at night is 4 years. I had finished 2 years at night. You go year round. They encouraged me not only to stop teaching, but to go to law school and finish up in 3 years. So I did my sort of third and fourth year during the third year, and then took the bar that summer, passed the bar, and then in 1980 joined on as an associate attorney, and then worked on from them. In 1984, there were some changes in the firm. I was lucky enough to become a partner at that point, and continued on as a partner to today. In 1982, I got appointed as an assistant law director in the city of Westlake, and did that for 10 years. And during part of that 10 years, for about three and a half years, I was also the city prosecutor, handled cases for Westlake, misdemeanor cases, and preliminary hearings for felonies that were heard in the Rocky River Municipal Court. And have continued doing that ever since. Handled a variety of kinds of cases, a number of different kinds of clients, individuals, corporations, kind of everything you might expect in a normal practice of law. I think what we love about the law is there actually is some equity and justice in it, and if it's applied properly, you get that kind of equity and justice. The results don't always look to the average guy as if it is an equitable result or a just result, but it's based on how our law is developed, going back to the Magna Carta and up to the present. And the attempt, you don't always get a just result, but the attempt is to reach that, and you got to have a willingness to really delve into the law, find out how it applies to the case, put on that blindfold like the Lady of Justice, and let those people come before you, those litigants, and decide the case as fairly as you possibly can based on the law. Because as a trial court judge, you're pretty bound, you should be bound, by the law as it's established. The old principle of stare decisis. That's the law. You can't make up new law. You've got to follow what's out there, and because there are so many higher courts, courts of appeal, the Ohio Supreme Court, and of course into the United States Supreme Court, they're giving you your guidance. So all you have to do is to find the law that applies to the case before you and use it. I think that's what people love about the law, because it's not a mathematical equation, but you kind of get to a result in the same way. There's a reasonable way to work your way about it, and it does work. The best part's meeting people. By far the best part's meeting people and getting a chance to get the word out about running for judge. I don't think a lot of people pay as much attention to the judicial races. And we're not going to be the high profile like the presidential race that's going on. But meeting people, talking to them about that, people asking, inquiring and finding out, well, what is it a judge really does and what would you do? That's the best part about the political process. I think I've enjoyed that part more than anything else.